What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I've got something a little bit different for y'all, and that is going to be sharing my summertime fishing tips to help you stay on the fish even during those super hot summer days. With June and some extra hot weather right around the corner, now is the perfect time to go over this stuff, so stay tuned if you're interested in something like that, and be sure to stick around to the end of the video where I'm going to reveal some of my favorite summertime fishing spots that you won't want to miss. Now, the main goal of summertime fishing is beating the heat. When it's super hot outside, not only can it be uncomfortable for us, but the fish don't enjoy it either. And because of that, feeding patterns and locations can change quite a bit during the summertime, so we'll go ahead and start by talking about feeding patterns. As usual, fish will feed around the tides. So when there's water movement, there's going to be helpless bait getting swept by that water, and the predator fish just won't be able to resist that. So you still want to pay attention to the tides, when they're moving, how much is moving. But if you can, manage your time and get out on the water early in the morning, like right at dawn, you'll find that the fish tend to do a lot more feeding right there in those early morning hours before the sun has come up, because the water is still cool. So you'll have the cool water and you'll have the bait moving with the tide. It's an excellent combination to catch some really nice fish. And even on the hottest of days, you can usually manage to catch a couple right there in that sweet spot, even if it's not the best day conditions-wise for fishing. Another crucial factor to pay attention to in the summertime is going to be oxygen. Dissolved oxygen is essential for the fish to breathe, and so hot water holds less oxygen. And it's important to focus on areas where the water has plenty of oxygen available for the fish, when it's super hot out. For all my guys who are doing bank fishing, you want to look for areas where the water is rough. So think of like the surf at a beach or the jetties, for instance. These spots are great because when the swells crash, it aerates the water, allowing for oxygen from the air to dissolve into the water, creating a more comfortable environment for the fish. Another excellent spot for guys who are kayak fishermen, or maybe you have a kayak but you don't take it out much, is going to be areas with seagrass. So seagrass is great for a couple of reasons. It naturally releases oxygen, so there's going to be plenty of oxygen in that water. It also has the added bonus of holding lots of bait, so there's going to be crabs in the grass, there's going to be shrimp in the grass, and they're all going to be just kind of, hanging out, hiding, A, from the sun, but B, from fish. Not only does it do that, but it also keeps the area cooler. We have a lot of muddy bottoms here in our bay system, which that mud kind of acts as a heat sink. It'll soak up all the heat from that sun, whereas that grass kind of creates a little protective layer from the muddy bottom, and it's going to hold a lot less heat. So grass is excellent. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out on the kayak fishing some grassy areas, and it's super easy to catch redfish with their tails up. You can literally see right where they're at, cast to them, and you can catch yourself some nice slot reds here in some of our marshes. So yeah, if you have access to a kayak or something like that, definitely want to look out for some grassy areas. I should also mention that swells aren't the only thing that can aerate the water. So if it's an especially windy day and you notice, some wind is blowing a little bit of swells or water chop into a certain bank, a wind-blown bank can be a great area to go kind of make a couple casts, and you can definitely get lucky. I've been lucky a time or two doing that on tough days where it's just hard to find the fish. And a lot of guys won't be expecting that, so you can, go and snag a couple fish where you're not going to be crowded. All right, now that we have covered some key fishing tips for beating the heat, let's talk about how you can apply this with different fishing styles. First up on my list is going to be surf fishing. There's honestly nothing better than hitting the beach with, family or friends during the summertime, and as an added bonus, you get to fish. So this style is great because when it gets too hot, you have the water right there, you can jump in, cool off. Plus, you're rarely going to go home empty-handed. We have a lot of small fish like whiting that you can catch. It's great for kids to catch, so it's family fun. And they also are pretty good eating fish. You can make a nice meal if you pull in some of the bigger whiting. You catch a couple of nice sized ones and you can fry them up. It makes for a pretty good meal. Next on our list is going to be wade fishing. I personally don't do a ton of wade fishing, but I do know it is a fantastic way to stay cool in the water. You just do some wet wading. Like I said, I don't do it a ton. I don't really have any good spots that I can share with y'all, but it can lead to some nice catches. And if you want a little bit more in-depth tips, I'd recommend checking out my buddy Before Outdoors channel. You can just go to his videos and kind of sort through them, look for like June or July wade fishing style videos, and he's probably got some better advice over there for you. He does a lot of wade fishing. Finally, we have night fishing. So I decided to save the best for last because it is a bit less common to own a light setup. But if you do have one, or you know somebody who does, night fishing is definitely the ultimate way to beat the heat and catch a ton of fish. With our lights, me and my pop usually like to head out there around 2 o'clock in the morning, which is very, very early. But the reason we do that is because we like to get our lights set up and have plenty of time to call in bait before, that first bit of tide movement starts happening. So, the tide usually starts moving in between 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when we notice the most action when it comes to our biting or our bites that we're going to get when we're night fishing. And so, you get out there at 2, you set up the lights, you call in that bait, and right when that tide starts moving, you're going to have plenty of bait in your light, and, those predator fish are just going to come destroy them, and then you're going to destroy those guys. I genuinely can't tell you how many times we've gone out and, we'll be out fishing all night, and then it's like that switch flips, the tide starts moving, and within those 2 hours from like 4 to maybe, 6 o'clock in the morning, we absolutely tear up the trout, 4 or 5 man limits back before they changed the limit, and it just is a ton of fun. I can't get enough of night fishing. It's definitely my favorite. Y'all can expect to see some of that here on the channel very soon. There's also, areas like Tiki Island. I tend to shy away from those just because it's kind of like a residency. Those lights technically aren't owned, or the lights are owned by the homeowner, but the water isn't. But I just feel like it's kind of indecent to, be making a ton of noise and being all loud trying to record a video in their backyard, essentially fishing those lights. But you've got the causeway, so if it's a nice calm night, you can go hit those lights. Tiki Island, there's something Cove. I don't fish these often, and just this night fishing, any lights basically. If you get out there early enough, right in that sweet spot, those lights are going to be excellent for catching fish early in the morning. And the last spot I would like to mention for my bank fishing guys is going to be Seawolf Park. So I'm sure many of you already know about Seawolf Park. And I personally don't love to fish there because it is pricey. You have to pay to get in, and you have to pay to park. But the lights are always on, and if you get there at like 3 or 4 in the morning set up, you can take advantage of that early morning / tidal movement combo with the lights. It's killer. It really is. Alrighty, that pretty much covers everything, but before we sign off, there were a couple more tips that I wanted to share with y'all to help you guys out. So when it comes to bait and bait shops, if you're trying to get up early, the bait shops oftentimes aren't going to be open yet, and you end up waiting until around 5 in the morning for them to open so you can get your live bait. By that time, you get in and out of the bait shop, you get to your spot, the sun's already coming up, and you've missed most of that great early morning bite, or a good portion of it, and it's just gonna, you can still fish. I don't want to get it twisted. You can fish all day if you want in the summertime. It's just going to be a lot more uncomfortable. The bites are going to be fewer and more far between, if that makes sense. So I personally, what I like to do is buy my bait the night before, then you just keep them alive in the aerator. So I would say, make sure you've got plenty of batteries so you can keep that aerator running through the night and into the morning while you fish. My second tip is going to be to bring a casting net. The cast net is very great because the lights that you're going to be fishing are going to attract bait, so it's easy pickings if you throw your cast net in there. And as a bonus, the fish are going to be dialed in on that exact bait because it's what attracted them to the light in the first place. So they're going to be snapping at that bait. You already caught some of those, you throw it out, and it's indistinguishable for them. They're just going to tear it up, and you'll get a lot of good bites. Lastly, I would say to bring some lighter tackle out there. Oftentimes, you'll end up with loads of trash fish like sand trout in your light, and if you bring lighter tackle, it makes it a lot more fun to target those little guys, and you get them out of the water. I personally like to catch them and use them as bait for bigger fish. So, you bring in a sand trout, chop his tail off, or you can throw him out their hole on the big setup. And, I've caught bull reds doing that before. You can catch sharks. You can catch all types of stuff with sand trout. So, yeah, you just get them out of the water so they're not constantly eating your shrimp, and you might even catch a big old fish. But that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it or learned something. If you did, be sure to hit that like button for me. And also, if you really enjoyed it, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot more fishing content coming up here in the following weeks. We're gonna be doing some night fishing, some kayak fishing, a nice mix of everything here on the channel for the summertime months. But yep, I hope you guys have a great rest of y'all day, and peace.